As the investigation into the deadly ICE shooting in Houston's East End continues, we want to put this incident into a broader context. CBS News Homeland Security and Justice correspondent Nicole Skanga joins us. Nicole, without speaking to the specifics of the Houston investigation, now what do we know about what goes into deciding when and how these operations are carried out by ICE?
Yeah, well, these kind of targeted street or vehicle stops are actually pretty common. Agents are often involved in these kind of fast-moving enforcement operations in cities like Houston. DHS, saying the person used a vehicle as a weapon, and then family witnesses later questioning that account. That's something we've seen play out in cities like Chicago and Los Angeles. Now, in this case in Houston, obviously we have an individual who rammed an ICE vehicle allegedly, and DHS said they tried to run over an officer, but we've seen similar cases like Marimar Martinez near Chicago, who was shot 5 times after being accused of ramming agents, but charges were later dropped and video evidence complicated that federal account. In Minneapolis, of course, we saw federal officials say that Renee Good and Alex Preddy, in this case, U.S. citizens, threatened officers before they were killed. But again, video evidence seemed to contradict those claims. Now, these incidents are rare when they're measured against overall arrests, right? ICE is now operating at a volume of roughly 2,000 arrests per day in late June. So fatal shootings are a fraction of overall encounters, but this is a pattern. Independent tracking has documented several dozen immigrant agent shooting incidents since this current administration began, with 6 deaths and 14 injuries prior to what we saw happen in Houston. You might ask, why is this happening? Volume, more arrests means more encounters. More encounters means more chances for one of them to turn violent. Location, the strategy has moved just beyond jails and scheduled check-ins into these neighborhoods, workplaces, and roadways. Tactics, unmarked vehicles, masked or plainclothes agents, quick vehicle blocks, and unclear identification can create some confusion. And lastly, accountability gaps. And we have so far seen no video of this incident, and it's unclear whether or not agents were wearing body cameras.
Nicole, have we seen a change in ICE operations since the shootings in Minnesota and the new leadership at DHS?
Yeah, really good question. Minneapolis appears to have changed the presentation and also the deployment model, more so than the overall mission of the Trump administration. Minneapolis was a turning point. We saw ICE sort of step back from high-profile city-by-city sweeps and really shift toward quieter ways to reach their deportation goals. Now, in February, we saw arrests fall to about 1,000 per day, but now by late June, they're back to about 2,000 per day. Under Secretary Mullen, there's been less spectacle, but a continued volume in terms of deportations. DHS, he says, is going to run on systems, not personalities. And he also has said that ICE is requiring judicial warrants before entering private residences in most cases. We've also seen Secretary Mullen change ICE's policy, returning new officer training from 42 days to 72 days starting July 1st. So we haven't seen that play out just yet, but that's a policy shift under the new secretary. So
when there's a deadly use of force involving a federal agent, what does the investigative process generally look like, and who's responsible for reviewing it?
Yeah, generally this would be referred to either local police or the FBI. In this case, the FBI is conducting an investigation looking into possible criminal charges, how they should proceed. Should there be any accountability or punishment for the law enforcement officers in charge? What about the victims in this case themselves? How did this play out? They'll be looking into allegations of that car ramming, versus how agents responded. Obviously, agents tend to use lethal force, or rather are authorized to use lethal force if they feel like there is a reasonable threat of bodily harm or death in that law enforcement encounter. Beyond that, we know that typically the Department of Homeland Security does internal investigations through its Office of Professional Responsibility within ICE. No indication just yet if DHS has launched that internal review, but we do know that the FBI investigation is ongoing.
All right. Thank you so much, Nicole Skanga with CBS News. Thank you again for joining us.